I buried my daughter 18 years ago. Last Tuesday, I received an email from her old address with GPS coordinates and 3 words, help me. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. The sender, Mountain, RG Mail. That was Lily's email. The one I couldn't bring myself to delete. The one that sat in my contacts like a gravestone I visited every time I scrolled past it. My hands were shaking so badly I had to set down my coffee. At 63 years old, I thought I'd experienced every kind of pain life could offer. I was wrong. The email came at 4 in the morning. I only saw it because insomnia had become my constant companion since Margaret died 3 years ago. The house in Vancouver felt too big, too quiet. Most nights, I'd sit in the kitchen with my tea, watching the city lights through the window, thinking about everyone I'd lost. But this email, this impossible email, I clicked on the attachment. A photo loaded slowly, line by line, like my old dial-up internet from the 90s. When it finally appeared, my heart stopped. A woman, mid-30s, standing in front of a weathered cabin. Her hair was darker than I remembered, cut short, but those eyes, those were Lily's eyes. The same eyes that used to light up when I'd take her hiking in the Rockies. The same eyes I'd last seen closed in a coffin. My daughter died in 2007, drowned in Okanagan Lake during what the RCMP called a tragic boating accident. They found her kayak overturned. They found her life jacket floating nearby. They found enough evidence to declare her dead, even though they never recovered her body completely. The water was too deep, they said. The currents too strong. I'd scattered ashes at the lake, ashes that I now realized might have belonged to someone else, or no one at all. I enlarged the photo, my hands trembling against the mouse. In the bottom corner, I could see metadata, GPS coordinates, 2074 degrees N, 5,542 degrees W. I copied them into Google Maps, somewhere near Golden, British Columbia, middle of nowhere, 3 hours from where I sat. This had to be a cruel joke. It had to be. Maybe someone hacked her old email. Maybe this was some kind of scam. I'd heard about these things. People preying on grieving families, pretending to be their lost loved ones. But what if it wasn't? I looked at the photo again. There was a small detail I'd missed. On her left wrist, barely visible, was a scar. Lily had gotten that scar when she was 12, trying to build a tree house with me. The saw had slipped. 5 stitches. She'd been so brave. Hadn't cried once. Nobody else would know about that scar. Nobody else would think to include it in a fake photo. I grabbed my phone and dialed the RCMP detachment in Kelowna, the same one that had handled Lily's case. After being transferred 3 times, I got Sergeant Patricia Morrison. She'd been a constable back in 2007, she said, and I could hear the careful professionalism in her voice. I understand this must be very difficult, but I need you to understand that we get false leads in cold cases all the time. This isn't a false lead, I said. I received an email from my daughter's address. There's a photo. There are coordinates. A pause. Have you been under any particular stress lately? I know you lost your wife recently. Grief can. I'm not imagining this. My voice came out harder than I intended. I'm sending you the email right now. I forwarded it to her and waited, listening to her keyboard clicking on the other end. Another pause. Longer this time. I need you to stay calm. Don't go to those coordinates. Don't respond to the email. Let us investigate this properly. How long will that take? Could be a few days. Could be a week. We need to verify. I hung up. A week. Lily's email said, help me. If she was really out there, if my daughter had somehow survived for 18 years, I wasn't going to wait a week. I packed a bag, threw in a jacket, my medications, my old hiking boots. I hadn't been hiking since Lily died, hadn't seen the point, but I remembered everything she'd taught me about the wilderness. The drive to Golden took 4 hours. I left at dawn, watching Vancouver disappear in my rearview mirror. The highway stretched ahead, cutting through forests and mountains. Every kilometer felt like a lifetime. I kept thinking about the last time I'd seen Lily. Really seen her, alive and well. It was the morning of the accident. She'd been excited about a solo kayaking trip. She was 21, fresh out of Emily Carr University with an art degree. The world was hers. Her mother, Susan, had begged her not to go alone. They'd fought about it. Susan always worried. I'd sided with Lily. Let her be independent. I'd said, she's an adult now. Those words had haunted me for 18 years. Susan and I divorced 2 years after Lily's death. We couldn't look at each other without seeing what we'd lost. She remarried, moved to Toronto. We hadn't spoken in over a decade, but if Lily was alive, Susan deserved to know. I'd call her, after I knew for sure. The GPS led me off the highway, onto a gravel road, then onto what was barely a path. My old Subaru groaned as I drove deeper into the forest. Pine trees closed in on both sides. The afternoon sun barely penetrated the canopy. Finally, the GPS announced I'd arrived. I parked and got out. The silence was absolute. No traffic sounds, no city noise. Just whine through trees and my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then I saw it. A cabin. Small, wooden, exactly like the one in the photo. Smoke rose from a chimney. Someone was inside. I approached slowly. Every instinct told me to run, to call for help, to do anything except walk toward that door. But my feet kept moving. I knocked. The sound echoed through the forest. Nothing. I knocked again. It's Dad. If you're in there, please. I got your email. The door opened. The woman from the photo stood there. Older now. Tired, but unmistakably my daughter, she whispered, and her voice broke something inside me. I pulled her into my arms and we both collapsed. 18 years of grief poured out. She was sobbing. I was sobbing. We sank to the floor of that cabin and held each other like the world was ending. I thought you were dead. I kept saying, I thought I lost you. I'm sorry. She kept repeating, I'm so sorry. When we could finally breathe again, when the tears slowed enough to speak, I pulled back and looked at her, really looked at her. What happened? I asked, what happened that day? She led me to a worn couch. The cabin was sparse, a wood stove, a small kitchen area, some basic furniture. This was where my daughter had been living. It wasn't an accident, she said quietly. The kayaking incident. It was staged. My blood went cold. Staged? By who? By Kevin. Kevin Marsh. Lily's boyfriend. I'd never liked him. Investment banker. Always talking about money. Always on his phone. But Lily had loved him. They'd been together for 3 years. Kevin was at work that day. I said, he had an alibi. He paid someone. Lily's hands were shaking. I didn't know until it was too late. Kevin and I were supposed to get married. Grandma Wu had left me her inheritance. $2.8 million. But it wouldn't transfer until I turned 25 or got married. I remembered. My mother's inheritance. She'd been specific about the age requirement, worried that Lily was too young to handle that much money. Kevin wanted that money, Lily continued. But he couldn't just marry me and divorce me. The inheritance terms specified that if we divorced within 10 years, he'd get nothing. The only way he could get all of it immediately was if I died after we were married and he was listed as sole beneficiary. So he tried to kill you. She nodded. We were supposed to go kayaking together that day. But he said he had to work. Insisted I go alone. Said I needed to practice my solo skills. When I was out on the water, someone came up in a motorboat, rammed my kayak. I went under. I should have drowned. But you didn't. A fisherman saw it happen from the far shore. He pulled me out, took me to his cabin. I was hypothermic, barely conscious. When I came to, he told me what he'd seen. Told me the motorboat had circled back, like they were making sure I was gone. My fists clenched. Why didn't you go to the police? I tried. Tears streamed down her face. I called them from the fisherman's phone. But when I described the boat, do you know who owned it? Kevin's senior partner at the firm. The RCMP started investigating. But then the partner claimed the boat was stolen that day. Reported it stolen the morning of my accident. Perfect alibi. And Kevin had his work alibi. They set you up. The fisherman. Tom was his name. He told me to run. He said people with that kind of money and connections don't stop. He said they'd try again. So I ran. She looked at me with those eyes I'd mourned for 18 years. I became someone else. I moved up here. Worked under the table. Stayed off the grid. Tom helped me initially. But he died 5 years ago. Since then, I've been alone. For 18 years. I said, the weight of it crushing. I mourned you. Your mother mourned you. We buried an empty coffin. I know. Her voice broke. I watched from a distance. I was at the funeral. In the back, wearing a wig and sunglasses. I saw you. I saw Mom. I saw everyone crying and I wanted to run to you so badly. But I was scared. And now, why contact me now? Her face went pale. Because he found me. Kevin. 2 weeks ago, I went into Golden to get supplies. I was careful, like always, but I saw him at the grocery store. He didn't see me, but he was there, asking questions, showing my photo around. After 18 years, the inheritance is still in a trust. I'm listed as missing, presumed dead, but there's no official death certificate because they never found a body. The money sits frozen. I think he needs to find actual proof of my death to claim it. Or maybe he just wants to finish what he started. I stood up, pacing the small cabin. We're going to the RCMP. Right now, we'll tell them everything. It won't work. I have no proof. It's been 18 years. The fisherman who saw everything is dead. Kevin's partner covered his tracks. My word against a successful investment banker with connections. They'll never believe me. Then we'll make them believe. I pulled out my phone. I still know people. I have friends at the CBC. We'll go public. We'll expose him. He'll kill me before we get the chance. Not if he can't find you. I grabbed her hand. You're coming with me. Back to Vancouver. We'll figure this out together. She looked at me with fear and hope mixed in equal measure. What about Mom? We'll call her. Once you're safe. We packed quickly. Lily didn't have much. 18 years of living in hiding meant 18 years of traveling light. A bag of clothes. Some art supplies. A few photos she'd printed from memory. As we were leaving, she stopped at the door. There's something else. Kevin got married 4 years ago to a woman named Jennifer. I looked her up online. She's missing now. Disappeared last year during a hiking trip in Jasper. Her life insurance was $3 million. Kevin was the beneficiary. The pattern was clear. Kevin Marsh had a system. Marry women with money. Make them disappear. Collect. How many? I asked. I don't know, but Jennifer makes at least 2. Me and her. We drove back to Vancouver in silence. Lily sat in the passenger seat, watching the landscape pass, touching the window like she couldn't believe she was really leaving her prison. When we hit the city limits, she started crying again. I forgot how beautiful it was, she whispered. I took her to my house, the home where she'd grown up. She walked through it like a ghost, touching familiar things. Her old room was exactly as she'd left it. I'd never had the heart to change it. That night, I called Susan. The conversation was the hardest thing I'd ever done. Robert, it's 3 a.m. What's wrong? Susan, I need you to sit down. You're scaring me. Lily's alive. Silence. Robert, have you been drinking? Did you take your medications? I'm looking at her right now. Our daughter is alive. She's been hiding for 18 years because someone tried to kill her. More silence. Then a sound I'd never heard from Susan before. Something between a laugh and a sob. Put her on the phone, she demanded. Right now. I handed Lily the phone. She took it with shaking hands. She said. I left the room to give them privacy. When I came back 20 minutes later, Lily was still on the phone, tears streaming down her face, nodding at whatever Susan was saying. The next morning, I contacted Sergeant Morrison again. This time, she listened, really listened. Especially when I mentioned Jennifer's disappearance and the pattern. I need to bring Lily in for a formal statement. And I need to contact Jasper RCMP about the Jennifer case. Will she be safe? We'll protect her. I promise. But promises are fragile things. That afternoon, as I was making lunch, Lily's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I know you're alive. I know you're in Vancouver. Let's talk about this like adults. You can't hide forever. She showed me the screen with trembling hands. He's bluffing. I said, he can't know for sure. But he did know. Because that evening, as the sun set over the city, I saw him, standing across the street from my house. Kevin Marsh, older now, graying at the temples, but unmistakable. He saw me see him, and he smiled. I called Morrison immediately. He's here. Kevin Marsh is outside my house right now. Stay inside. Lock the doors. I'm sending units right now. But by the time the police arrived 10 minutes later, Kevin was gone. The next 3 days were a nightmare. Lily gave her statement. The RCMP opened an investigation. Jasper Detachment confirmed Jennifer's case had gone cold. They found similarities. Both women had substantial money. Both disappeared near water. Both had Kevin as the primary beneficiary. But evidence was thin. 18 years had erased most of what happened to Lily. And Jennifer's case was only a year old. Still active, but stalled. Kevin hired lawyers. Expensive ones. He denied everything. Said he was in Vancouver on business. Had no idea why anyone would think he'd been stalking anyone. Then Morrison called me with news. We found something. Kevin's phone records from the week of Lily's accident. He made 3 calls to a number registered to a man named Marcus Webb. Webb has a criminal record. Assault. Fraud. He died in a car accident in 2015. Is that enough? It's a start. And we're looking into Kevin's financials. If he hired Webb, there should be a paper trail. But Kevin was smart. The money trail led nowhere. His lawyers got him released. And that night, my house burned down. Lily and I weren't inside. Thank God. Morrison had moved us to a safe house after Kevin's lawyers got him out. But everything I owned, everything Lily had kept from her childhood, burned to ash. The fire marshal called it arson. Accelerant detected. No suspects. But I knew, we all knew, this has to stop. I told Morrison, he's going to keep coming. Evidence or no evidence. He won't stop until she's dead. We're working on it. I've contacted the fraud division. They're going through Kevin's entire financial history. If he paid off anyone, if there's any proof of the pattern with these women, we'll find it. 2 weeks later, they found it. Not where we expected. A forensic accountant discovered that Kevin had a second investment account, hidden under a shell corporation. That account had made regular payments to someone in the Cayman Islands. When they tracked down the recipient, they found something interesting. It was Kevin's uncle. And that uncle had connections to organized crime. Specifically, people who specialized in making problems disappear. The uncle, faced with international fraud charges, decided to cooperate. He gave up everything. Names, dates, transactions, including Marcus Webb, the man who'd rammed Lily's kayak, including a second man hired to stage Jennifer's hiking accident. Kevin was arrested at his office. The news made national headlines. Investment banker charged with 2 attempted murders and multiple fraud counts. The trial took 8 months. I sat through every day of it. Lily beside me. Susan flew in from Toronto and sat on Lily's other side. The 3 of us, together again, watching justice slowly unfold. Kevin's lawyers tried everything, but the evidence was overwhelming. Financial records, testimony from his uncle, phone records. The pattern was undeniable. The jury took 4 hours to convict him on all counts. 18 years of stolen life. 18 years of grief and hiding and fear. Kevin got 25 years with no possibility of parole. When the verdict was read, Lily grabbed my hand. She didn't cry. She just squeezed my hand and breathed. After the trial, we held a second funeral. Not for Lily, but for the 18 years she'd lost. It was a private ceremony. Just family. We scattered flowers in Okanagan Lake, the place where her life was supposed to have ended. I'm reclaiming this, Lily said, watching the flowers float away. This isn't where I died. This is where I survived. She moved in with me while I rebuilt the house. Susan visited often, flying in from Toronto every few weeks. We were learning to be a family again, different than before, scarred but stronger. Lily started painting again. Real painting. Not the secret sketches she'd hidden away for 18 years. Her first gallery show opened last spring in Gastown. It was called 18 Years Under. Every painting depicted water. Some calm, some violent. All of them showed something beneath the surface. Something surviving, waiting to emerge. The opening night was packed. Art critics came. News media came. People who'd followed the trial came. But the person I was most glad to see was Sergeant Patricia Morrison. She bought 3 paintings. For believing me, I told her as we stood looking at Lily's work. For trusting yourself, she corrected. You could have ignored that email, assumed it was a scam, but you trusted your instinct. You trusted your love for your daughter. Lily joined us, smiling. She was wearing a blue dress, her hair grown out now, confident in a way I hadn't seen since she was 21. What do you think? She asked, gesturing at the crowded gallery. I looked around, at the life she'd reclaimed, at the future she'd fought to reach. I think you're extraordinary, I said. She hugged me tight. I learned from the best. That night, after the gallery closed, the 3 of us walked along English Bay, Susan and me. The water was calm, reflecting city lights. Do you think about what you lost? Susan asked quietly. All those years? Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I think about what I gained. Perspective, strength, a second chance that most people never get. She looked at both of us. And I think about the fact that my dad drove 4 hours into the wilderness based on an email and a hope. that he never stopped loving me, even when he thought I was gone. That's worth more than anything Kevin took from me. We stood there, watching the waves, the three of us learning to breathe again. My daughter was dead for 18 years. Now she's more alive than ever. And every morning when I wake up and see her painting in what used to be her childhood room, I'm reminded that love doesn't end with death. Real love survives anything, even 18 years at the bottom of a lake that never claimed her.